Welcome to the Police Chaplain Corner. My name is Sean. I've had the opportunity of serving as a police chaplain for a number of years in two different jurisdictions after retiring from a career in law enforcement. And so I wanted to take this time to spend with you to help you in your walk as a law enforcement officer, in your personal, family, and spiritual development, with the hope and trust that some of the tips, some of the things that we'll discuss will help you to navigate the difficult job that you do every day. If you're encouraged by our time together, if you're encouraged by these videos, then I encourage you to subscribe to this channel and to invite your friends, your co-workers, your family members, and even citizens to watch. Here's why. It's our hope that we use this time to grow together, to answer questions that are important to us as law enforcement officers. But it's also important for us to engage community and to ask and answer difficult questions about what's going on in our world and why this happens or why that happens or what are the circumstances, so that we can get a balance and an understanding that would allow us to build bridges to grow. So let's begin by talking about authority. Now, authority it's a big word. You go from an average, if you will, citizen to a police academy where you're indoctrinated into the law enforcement community, a law enforcement way of thinking, a law enforcement way of responding to situations and circumstances that hopefully will allow you to police well and keep you safe. That authority is given generally after you graduate from a certified academy. You'll take an oath of office and they'll pin a badge on you. Now, that badge is symbolic of the authority that you carry in the community that you represent. And so with that in mind, it's not just about you individually, but it's about the people that you serve and the government that you represent. I hope that you'll do it well. So let's talk a little bit about your badge and the authority that you carry, using the example given to us from the scriptures from a guy named Moses. And we'll start in Exodus chapter 4 and verse 2, which reads, "And the Lord said to him being Moses, 'What's that in your hand?' And he said, 'A staff.' And then he said, 'Throw it on the ground.' And so he threw it on the ground, and it turned into a serpent, and Moses fled from it. But the Lord said to Moses, 'Reach out with your hand and grasp it by the tail.' And so he reached out with his hand and caught it, and it turned into a staff in his hand." Now, if you just read that and read the story and the context of Moses and the things that God was going to do to use Moses to free the children of Israel from bondage in Egypt, you'll fly right over and you'll miss what that means for you in the times in which we live and the authority in which you carry. And so that staff that God asked Moses to throw down was symbolic of the authority that he had and would carry in his responsibility to do his duty to God and to serve his community, the children of Israel. The first thing God told him to do is take it and submit it. And so he threw it down. It's so important for you to always humble yourself. Humbling yourself doesn't equal that you're weak. It doesn't equal that someone else wins or that there's something wrong with you. Humbling yourself when you have the greatest amount of ability is indicative of the greatest amount of strength. It's easy to misuse authority. And so God knows that. And so that's why he said to Moses, first of all, submit it. And so Moses did. And when Moses submitted it, it turned into a snake, a serpent. God's next instruction was, now pick it up by the tail. Now all of us have the sense to know that you don't pick up a snake, a serpent by the tail. Reason? because its mouth can come around and bite you. Exactly. If you don't handle your authority well, it can bite you. And so God wants you to be submissive about carrying it, and then pick it up carefully and carry it cautiously. We don't want terrible things to happen to you because you misuse or abuse the authority that you've been given. There's a trust. There's a unique trust given to you when you pin that badge on and when you wear that uniform and that patch. Respect it, and others will respect you. That's not due to the color of your skin, your gender, or anything. You represent the community that you serve. You represent your government, your local government, your state government. And I just want you to do it well, and I want you to be successful in everything you set out to do. And I think God does too, because he gives us this instruction to follow. Don't get bit by the authority that you carry. When I was a young rookie, a senior officer, I wish I knew who he was, but he said, I wish I remember his name. But he said to me, Sean, what I want you to do is I never want you to be upset when people come at you. They'll say things to you. They'll do things to you. And it might make you angry. But do your level best not to let it bother you. Why? Because they don't know you. They are lashing out at the government or the authority that you represent. Now, I say many times that most of our government officials, they don't go out into the communities. They don't go into the high crime areas. They don't go into low income communities and generally meet with the citizenry. And so what happens is many areas feel disenfranchised by the government. And when they're unhappy, for whatever the reason, the only government that they'll touch, the only leader that they touch, the only mayor that they touch, the only governor that they'll ever touch is that representative, you. And so the words that they speak and the things that they do and the objects that they throw, it's not intended for you at all. It's intended to send a message. No one is listening to me and no one cares. Now, we all know that's not true. But it's a perception, and a perception for many is their reality. What we have to do is turn the tides on that. And we can work hard to build bridges and build relationships and bring understanding so that the community understands better why we do what we do, and they learn us, they know us, and we learn them better. And a strong bond is built. And no mistake by police officers across our country can get in the way of that. If you work hard to serve your particular community well, if you work hard to build bridges in your particular community and you serve people at a high level, nothing that happens in some other jurisdiction is going to impact you. In fact, you'll find that people will come to you wanting your answers, wanting your perspective, wanting your input, and trusting you to create understanding in their own lives. And it's because you've taken that badge and you recognize what God has done and you pin it on. And every day you put on that uniform, you pause, you humble, and then you pick it up carefully. And you go out on your job and you serve your community well and safe. I want to encourage you with these words. I want to encourage you. Make this commitment. Every day that I put on my uniform and pin on this badge, I'll remember these words. I'll humble myself and I'll pick my authority up carefully. Make it a systemic part of what you do as you prepare to hit the street. Just like it's your responsibility to check your tools Your collapsible baton, you keep it oiled. Your firearm, you keep it oiled. You inspect it to make sure it's in proper working order, to make sure that the magazine is seated in the right way, to make sure not when it's at the most vulnerable time where you need it most, but as part of your responsibility before you hit the street. It's my hope that you go out to your car every day and that you check the back seat and that you inspect it and that you look for things left behind and that you check your emergency equipment to make sure that it works before you hit the street. You don't want to wait for the emergency and then figure out, I've got something wrong or something is not working as it should. Please don't do that. The authority that you carry is an important thing. One of the first things that you're given. Humble yourself, pick it up carefully, and carry it well. I hope that these few moments together has been a blessing to you and that you are encouraged and inspired and you look at your responsibility and your authority a little bit differently. I know that it will serve you well. I know that you'll do a good job because you were created for this time, for this year, for this moment, in these difficult times. God didn't make a mistake when he made you to do the job that you're doing right now. Don't shrink back, don't fear, but do your job well. And always, you remain in my prayers. And so if you'd like to connect with me, please send me an email to va50det@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to respond to you. And send me your questions too, because I'd love to be able to create moments where I have an opportunity to speak to some of those things too. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button underneath the video and invite your friends and family members and people that you know to join us for these times. Look forward to seeing you again soon. God bless you. Take care. And as always, be safe.